Did you know that simple mistakes can cost home sellers tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars when trying to sell their house? In fact, pricing your home incorrectly, having poor presentation, or limiting showings can increase your time on the market, which usually leads to a lower sale. Selling a home is not just putting a for sale sign in the front yard and throwing it on the local MLS. There's a strategy behind it. There's a pricing, there's a presentation, there's approach, there's a conversation that's going on with the other agent and the buyers. And if you're not doing those things correctly for arguably your largest investment, then you're going to spend more time on the market and likely taking a lower price. I'm Lee Calvert. I'm a real estate agent in North Texas, and I've helped tons of sellers avoid costly mistakes when taking their properties to the market. In this video, I'll be sharing with you 7 common mistakes I see sellers go through and ways that you can avoid them. That way you can sell quickly and at the best price. So if you're thinking about selling your house, watch until the end of the video so you don't fall into these same mistakes that can cost you thousands. One of the biggest things I see sellers do most often is price the house based off what they need versus what the market suggests it's worth. Buyers do not care what you paid for the home in whatever date you bought it. They care on what the comps suggest it's worth in the current market. So save yourself some trouble. Make sure you are engaging with a real estate agent, talk through the data, talk through the comps, look at where the buyers are in the current market to save yourself the headache. Number 2, starting high and dropping the price later. Now, a seller's greatest fear is missing out on money in a sale. So how do we feel like we're going to try and achieve that? Well, we're going to start up here and we're going to work our way down to where a buyer will meet us. Naturally, you think, well, that's going to be the best way I can make sure I get the most amount of money for a sale. However, there's a flip side of that coin. Buyers, when they start seeing that price come down, it begs the question, how much further can I get that seller down? And you spend more time in the market. You miss those eyes that these property sites put the properties in front of buyers early in their time on the market. So you miss those buyers. The first 2 weeks are critical for every new listing that hits the market. That's when all of the property sites are pushing your new listing. They want things that are new to put it in front of their audience. So being priced competitively and accurately for those opening 2 weeks is absolutely key to getting the right price for your property. If you start high and drop the price later, it could lead to questions of what's wrong with the property? Why does nobody else want it? Is there something going on I need to dig into more? How much more could I get the price off? Is the seller in a more of a desperate position than they were previously? So what are you going to do about it? Well, price it immediately at where you should be to get the best audience, right? If you're a little bit higher, then let's say you're in the 410 range on value, you might be better pricing it at 400 to start. It increases your audience simply based off how the search systems work online. 99% of all buyers find their property online to begin with in this era. So make sure you're working around the search systems to make sure you get the best audience. Now, we're not in the pandemic era where multiple offer situations were absolutely everywhere. But if you price your property effectively and it's attractive to buyers, more buyers will come to you and you might establish a multiple offer situation that helps you in your negotiation and likely pushes the price up from where you started. It all sits in with the strategy. Number 3, skipping proper cleaning and presentation. Just this week, I tell you, we went through 6 houses with a buyer. 4 of them were absolutely disasters on presentation. Only 2 were really looking like they were making an effort. And these go to simple things like cleaning, tidying up for a showing, making sure you've cleaned up the nicks and dings of cabinetry, you've cleaned the windows, the dust has been dusted away. The little things really count. The buyer does not want to come through the property and experience your grime. They want to be envisioning themselves living there, and they can't do that unless you put the proper presentation into it. So what do? I highly recommend getting a professional cleaner in the property before you're taking photos or doing any media for it. Make sure you get a professional in. Get the floors cleaned, get the cabinetry cleaned, get the windows cleaned, do a pressure washing outside. Actually put some effort into it, because even on those first impressions when they pull up to the property, if yours is cleaned on the outside as well and your neighbor is not, it's going to show that you've taken better care of the property and given an immediate good response. Number 4, go that little extra step on presentation beyond the cleaning. So here's the tips of things I always recommend to do. 1, make sure all the light fixtures are working, not broken. All the lights be the same color for every fixture that's throughout the home. 2, refresh the landscaping. Make sure you're getting that lawn mowed. Make sure all the weeds are pulled. Dead stuff might be removed. Do you need to add some color to the area? Maybe some new mulch just to give it an extra bit of life. Make sure you're cleaning under the furniture. You would hate to have someone see something underneath that maybe the cleaner's missed. Get under the beds, get under the couches. Make sure the cabinetry is looking in great condition. I can't tell you how many times I've gone through homes and the cabinetry has been nicked and dinged or warped or had crayon on it or marks, and it's gone through, and the molding that's gone around the property has the same thing. The mudroom, the bathroom cabinetry. And the mindset for a buyer going through is like, what else is wrong with the property? If you don't put the effort in to make sure these key things are looking good to woo me to buy it, what else could be wrong? So other things you want to look for: leaky faucets. You're also looking out for pet damage, worn out carpets, things that the buyers are going to want. Your home just really needs to lean in on being fresh, clean, something that says you want to live here. That's where you want to place your property. And more importantly, if you're in a community where you're competing with new construction, you need to put your best effort in trying to give them as mirror image of a new construction experience as possible. 9 times out of 10, buyers will go for new construction, especially in this market with more competitive interest rates and warranties. You don't have that generally as a resale seller to offer them. So you've got to lean in on making sure you've got great condition. What things can you bring to the table that new construction cannot? Perhaps upgrades, a better lot location, more understanding of a finished product. That's what you can do, but make sure your condition is as best as it can be. Number 5, over-personalizing your home. Depersonalize it for when you're trying to go on the market. You've got to start having this idea of it's not your home anymore. You're preparing the home for the next owner. So those over dramatic paint colors you might have put into it, the neon yellows, yes, that's out there. The harsh pinks, the bold reds, the greens. Want to really neutralize those colors throughout the home. Pictures, family portraits, weddings. The amount of homes I've gone into where I feel like I've been in the wedding because I've got 50 pictures from the weddings. Bring those down, make them more neutral, maybe 1 or 2 at the most. Overdoing it with personalized pictures of the family, reduce those. A few here and there are okay. Landscapes are great. Sporting stuff is pretty good as well. More that kind of contemporary stuff that's not really personalized to the family. We love that. Bringing in some color, some greenery, some fake plants, some real plants. That's not too bad, but don't overdo it. Religious stuff. Bring down the religious stuff a bit more. You can have a few things, but don't overdo it as well. Pet stuff. Reduce the aspect of pets in the house as best as possible. So if you're really a pet lover and you've got multiple dogs or cats or something, that's great, but reduce how much influence the pet has in the property. Buyers are always looking at how many hurdles there are to getting into a property that they can just move in and be ready. If they're having to think about painting walls, that's something for them. If they're thinking about having to repair walls that have been overly hung on with artwork, they're going to have to think about that as well. We want to reduce the barriers for their envision of living themselves. And you as the seller might think, well, the buyer will be fine with that. They can just see their stuff there. There are so many buyers that just cannot visualize it, and that might be your buyer. Neutralizing the property to make it more like how they would find the experience going through new construction homes versus walking into your home. You need them to feel like they're walking into their home, not yours. That's where they're going to feel more comfortable to spend more money. So 2 things you could do for me: get your agent over, walk through the property with them, but get some friends, not family or neighbors, to come over the property and walk through and get their feedback on how it's presenting, right? Family are going to be too nice. Number 6, limiting showings to just the weekends or during certain times. Here's the thing, buyers are looking all the time. Buyers are coming on the weekends. Some buyers can only travel midweek. And if you're not available midweek, you lose that buyer. Trying to be flexible with your schedule to allow a buyer whenever they're available with some notice. If it's 24 hours, if you need it. Most times I try and work with a 1 to 2 hour window. That's going to be your best way of allowing a buyer to come through that works on their schedule. If you're limiting the access to the property, you're limiting how many buyers can see it. If the buyers can't see it, they're not going to bid. Here's what you're going to do to get around that. And it does take a bit of effort, but the effort leads into a better sale. You're going to keep your home relatively ready at all times. Now, if you live there, you still live there, right? There's still going to be some aspect of you living there, but don't have copious amounts of laundry lying around. Don't let things stack up on the kitchen island. Make sure you've got things that are really quick and easy to put away. If you need to store things in cupboards for a showing, store it in the cupboard. Use the garage as a staging area. If you just need to pick things up and move it, do it. Try and do your best to allow a buyer to come through when they're available. And number 7, we're going to talk about buyer agent compensation. Now, this is really a new one that's really amplified over the last 12 months, because as a seller, you are not obligated to pay the buyer's agent fee. However, most buyers are accustomed to a seller paying the buyer agent fee. And you want to reduce the amount of hurdles you have in the way of a buyer from buying your property. Buyers are already handling their down payment, making sure that they have enough funds to purchase your property. Customarily, most sellers pay the buyer agent fee over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Now, there's a lot in the media going on around how sellers are going to save money by not paying the buyer agent fee. However, I'll tell you now, my buyers are expecting the seller to pay the buyer agent fee. They don't necessarily want to engage where they have to pay me their fee. They're already handling other fees. So talk to your agent. Figure out what strategy you want to do with the buyer agent commission. I highly recommend making sure you have something available. How much? That's for you to determine with the strategy that you're doing with price and placement on the market. So let's recap those 7. 1, we're going to price it effectively. 2, we're not going to start too high, because starting too high and dropping down generally doesn't work as a strategy. 3, we're going to get it cleaned properly. 4, we're going to make sure presentation's looking good with nicks and dings and getting the light bulbs done and the landscaping. 5, we're going to make sure we're depersonalizing the house. 6, we're going to make sure we're working on making the home as available as possible for buyers. And 7, we're going to make sure we're considering buyer agent compensation. Avoiding making mistakes on those 7 items are huge differentiators on what the experience is going to be for you as a seller. Now, if you're a buyer in this market and you've watched this, or a seller, and you've gone through some of these experiences, or maybe you're thinking, gosh, I'm going through this experience right now. Drop your experiences in the comments. I want to see them. I want to hear them. I want to make sure other people that are watching this video can tap in to just knowing that this isn't just content. This is real life situations that people are going through. Share your stories. Would love to see them. If you're looking to buy, sell, or rent in the DFW area, make sure to fill out the form below, and I'll reach out to you personally to help you on your next step for your move. If you've enjoyed this content and you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Put in the comments below what you want to see more of, and thank you for watching.